Hey folks, welcome to episode 4 of Behind the Play, a video series where I take a look at all things related to CSGO tactics and strategy. And in this episode, I'm actually going to be taking a request from someone out there in the community who wanted me to look at initial play on the new Inferno, as of course it made its LAN debut at DreamHack Masters Las Vegas. Now of course the sample size is very small for this map, as it was the first tournament that it was used at, and of course teams haven't had so much time to really experiment with the map and innovate new things. But I thought I still would take a look at some of the stuff we saw coming out of Inferno at that tournament. We'll start out by looking at some basics on Inferno, as well as just some nifty tactics that I did see actually come out at DreamHack Masters Las Vegas. So without further ado, let's get in game and take a look at things. So just to start with some basics of Inferno, we'll take a look at what usually happens on default rounds from both sides of the map. So typically, terrorists are going to look to control Banana with either 2 or 3 players, and of course they're going to have to battle against counter nades and maybe CT aggression, but in general they're going to be using 2 or 3 players to try to get control to this point here, to at least get control of cars, sandbags, all that, and just leave Banana open as an option to use later in attack. Now usually simultaneously you're also going to see a couple of players, at least maybe 3 players, also trying to get control of apartments, and usually this is some combination of a player coming up the normal way up the stairs, as well as a player who's going to be boosting into window and using that to control boiler. And that's just really the groundwork of what you want to do to get things started on T-side Inferno. You also will see oppers and such look to get control of middle, maybe looking for picks. Maybe you set up a couple of players in a crossfire, using smokes on either side of middle to take a fight on lane or take a fight on archway and push players back and eventually attain what I like to call just like first level of middle. So once you have control of the first level of middle, apartments, and Banana, your options are really open to you at that point. You can either eventually fall off and gather up and use smokes on CT spawn and spools, as well as maybe some Molotovs here up close by what's usually called oranges, or maybe back here by new box, and then use this to actually execute to the B-bomb site. You can obviously also do different things where you just, attack up lane or apartment simultaneously with some type of split that way. You can also attack arch and wrap around the site from multiple angles. You can even do plays into archway back in the CT spawn into Banana. And so there's really all kinds of things you can do once you get initial control of, like I said, Banana apartments and maybe the first level of middle. And a lot of teams like to open up that way unless they're going straight to some type of execute. So we'll take a look at a couple of examples of that now. This is between Astralis and NiP, and of course these teams have a little bit of limited utility in this particular round as well as firepower, but basically you're going to see what we talked about kind of play out. You're going to see the CT side use incendiaries and nades and such to try to deny Banana control initially. Dupree meanwhile is looking for any type of pushes that might be taking place at window room or alt middle, while Xipix is setting up to get control of apartments. And as the smokes and such on NiP begin to run low on Banana, that's when you're going to see them start fading back into the bomb site, and that's when KRB and company can begin to start getting control of Banana. And as you see simultaneously, Dupree and Xipix, they're working together here to get control of the apartments. And this is really just as default as it gets. Not much mid presence in this round, but as you'll see, eventually all of Astralis will just fall back off of this and go into Banana and do an execute here on the B bomb site. Here we'll take a look at the match between Gambit and Fnatic, and you're really going to see a lot of the same thing. Krims and Olafmeister initially putting some pressure here on Banana, but as they run out of utility, that will free up the ability for Mo and Zeus to work together to get control of that area. Meanwhile, you do see Dozia, Drin, and Hobbit all look to get control of the apartments, and then eventually they too will gather up. But this time, they're actually looking for more of an attack on lane side. You see a Drin's going to get a pick onto Dennis, and then they're going to be able to use that to rotate into an A attack as Adren also takes out JW inside the pit. And so, as you can see, there's the different options that come off of playing default. And one, you saw a fallback into a late Banana hit, and the other, you saw them actually working a pickup middle and lane and using it to attack the A bomb site. So this is the basics of Inferno, what we saw a lot on the old version of Inferno, what we're still seeing on this new version of Inferno. I will say, though, that I do wonder in the future if we are going to see some differences in how apartments control works due to some of the new changes there, as well as spammability. For example, one of the big differences about apartments is the fact that there is no bedroom now, so this might make things a bit more difficult for CTs to get more aggressive inside the apartments, as now, when you're trying to hold an aggressive angle, there's nowhere to fall back to reset and get into a new angle and try to take a new fight and try to, buy time for a teammate to assist you from boiler or from the balcony itself. So that is certainly one big change that will now play into apartments control. Another big thing that's going to play into apartments control is spammability. As you can see here, as I take some shots, there is a lot of stuff that you can actually spam through, and if you line up things just right, you really can take people down in a big way and do a lot of damage, and in fact maybe even get some kills. One example is going to be this window here, as you can see, that goes right into window room. This wall itself is also spammable, so there's just a lot of spammable stuff here throughout the apartments, really on either side, that you're going to have to deal with. This pole is another example of something that you're going to be able to spam through that can go either way. And on top of all that, you also even have to deal with players being able to spam through the door to get into the apartments, as well as still some spammability in an area like this one, which was there before as well. So there seems to be some added spams that could certainly play an effect in how apartments control can work. On top of apartments being different, you also will see some differences at Banana. It's certainly much wider, as some players have already commented on. There's also this wall here that provides added cover and maybe even an ability to boost over it and do things as well. So certainly the way that the angles are much wider on Banana can certainly play a factor in how Banana control from either side is going to be played, but it's still a bit too early to tell exactly how much of a difference it's going to make, as a lot of what we've seen so far is just reflective of what the old Inferno was like for the most part. And with that said, we also did see a couple of cool tactics being used at DreamHack Las Vegas that we had seen on the older Inferno make a reappearance, and it was pretty cool stuff, so we'll take a look at a couple of those now. The first play I saw was the reappearance of an old throwback tactic from the VeryGames days that they used to run early in CSGO, and even going back in the Counter-Strike Source, which is Zeus actually throwing a pop flash from middle to allow his players to spill out of the apartments once they get control of it. Well, it doesn't necessarily work out in this particular round. It is definitely cool to see this tactic come back and be used, just kind of proving that some of the older Inferno plays can still be viable on this new version of the map, and it's definitely neat to see some of these old tactics, like we've seen in other episodes of Behind the Play, still be adapted and modified and used in current play. One other play towards apartments I saw from the event was actually something that North did, and they actually did it two different ways. We're going to watch one version here where you actually see after they get control of apartments and put some initial pressure at Banana and middle, they actually fall back over here towards alt mid to throw a couple of nifty smokes that is going to allow AZ to actually slip out of the apartments and attack pit in a pretty neat way. So as we see this round drag on a little bit here, we'll be able to see that in fact take place. So let's just speed it up for a sec. There you see MSL and Mage just line up the smokes that I'm talking about. And actually what happens with these smokes is you're going to have one here on the balcony, and then as well as a line of smokes. It will just, like I said, just allows AZ to get out of the apartments basically unseen and go through and actually get a surprise kill on to Hobbit inside the pit, which opened up the A-bomb site in a big way. Now in this particular round, things worked out awesome for AZ, and that's how come they're able to actually re-hit onto the A-bomb site. But I also saw North run another version of this where they line up the exact same smokes but send AZ out alone, and they actually did a late hit over here on the B bomb site. So kind of like some of the other tactics we featured on this show, you can throw a set of smokes that can mean two different things: a straight up execute onto the A bomb site or a fake over towards B. And we'll actually show you an aerial view of exactly what AZ did in this round. So here's a third-person perspective of how these smokes come in and land and allow AZ to just have a brilliant amount of cover with these smokes and a flash to be able to creep in and can catch Hobbit completely off guard inside the pit and open up the A-bomb site again for either a straight-up execute or also using other rounds by North as a fake to actually do a late B hit. And now I'll actually show you how Magus and MSL lined up these smokes if you'd like to throw this into your own playbook. So here's how Magus lines up his smoke. He just lines up on the wall and then gets into the corner of this flower pot. And so this will be one of the two smokes that you're going to see used to allow that wall to go down and for AZ to be able to slip out of the apartments. Now let's take a look at how MSL lines up his smoke. He's just going to get into the opposite corner and line up his smoke just a little bit above the pipe there, above the window. Now, finally, here's AZ's perspective of things, as he's going to also throw himself a smoke that's a part of all this. Just kind of a running throw, uses it, partially extinguishes the fire, and then he throws his own flash to run out with, and this is how he loops around. Just if you wanted to get his perspective from things as well. I thought it'll conclude all of the cool plays that I wanted to show in this video from DreamHack Masters Las Vegas. So that does it for this episode of Behind the Play. Just wanted to show you some Inferno basics, as well as just give you an idea of what the initial play on the new Inferno looked like at its land debut at DreamHack Masters Las Vegas. Now again, not many matches were played, and not much time has passed since new Inferno has come out to really see exactly how some of these new changes of departments and Banana and things will really come into play. But so far what we've seen is a lot of what we've seen in the past, as far as how defaults worked out, as far as how terrorists and CTs wanted to work the map and the initial stages of the round and how they adapt to certain things, as well as a throwback to some really cool tactics we used to see in the past that always made Inferno fun to watch. And hopefully we'll be able to check back in with the new version of Inferno at a later time and see some teams coming up with some new innovative tactics as well. At least that's my hope. But again, hope you enjoyed this episode of Behind the Play. If you did, please follow and subscribe for more content. See you next time.